Thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. Absolutely great to see you. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Aoife Dunn. I'm the head of training, sales and development here in Growth University. I have our CEO and our founder, Craig Zingerline, online as well. Our head of community and operations, Aoife Murphy. So
Hello.
Thank you all again so much for coming along. I'll just keep people probably be joining a little bit later, just popping in there now. It's great to see some numbers coming in. I hope life is great where everybody else is. I'm in Ireland, 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's actually still bright, which is a miracle for Ireland time. So it is. So listen, thanks guys, and I'll be respectful and mindful of everyone's time and their lunch break if people are in America. So what I'll do is Chase is our guest speaker for our event today. We're absolutely thrilled to have him. Chase has been a great supporter, a member of Growth University for a long time, and he's doing some absolutely fantastic work. And I suppose his sweet spot and his expertise is really with working with founders and their teams, and I suppose through a coaching capacity and also in a training development capacity. So we're really delighted to have him here today on a great webinar, how to prioritize goals and to-dos. As we all know, every founder has a to-do list. But anything like me, I have a today to-do list, a this week to-do list, and a this month to-do list. So it'll be great just to get Craig's insights into how to manage that moving forward.
So Chase, not mine. You don't want my insights on this. I could talk about growth and marketing, but this side.
So we'll hand over to Chase there now, and I'll leave you in his very capable hands. If you want any questions at any stage, just pop them into the question box, or just feel free to pop up your hand there and come off of mute. We'd be delighted to have you talk to us as well. Thanks very much and enjoy.
Cool. Thank you, Aoife. How's it going, everyone? Hello.
Hello.
Nice. So I'm Chase. My intention with this session is for this to be super collaborative, super like workshop-esque, is like I want to get some real work done while we're here. So please jump in, join in. We have workbooks that we're going to be handing out. We have I have some ideas and content to share with you. So I want you to leave here today with like a really strong direction, really strong clarity and strong direction for where you're taking things in your business. And wow, that was like perfect timing on the timer right here. There's like 7 seconds left, so we're ready to kick it off. Let's do this. Okay, as an invitation, if everyone could just say muted, that'd be great. We don't need to hear people going to the bathroom. You know, Zoom life has been work life and real life, and you know, you hear a bunch of things. So appreciate it if everyone just stayed muted, and then just come off mute if I call on you. We can have a conversation. Ooh, yelling at the kids. Yeah, that's a really good one. I've definitely heard that before. So I am Chase. I am the founder of Human at Scale. We are a coaching and training company, really around the ethos of building great leadership from the inside out. By building great leadership, my philosophy is around when we are in a place of focus and confidence and clarity, then it actually helps our business to be able to scale. We're able to lead great teams. We're able to set goals and priorities and be very, very clear with our direction. I've been doing this in this context for about 3 years now, and I'm a coach to companies around the seed to Series A stage and a little bit of post-Series A work as well. So that tends to be my sweet spot. Previously, I served as a chief operating officer and on the board of managers of a national coffee brand. And I served in that position for 5 years before I replaced myself as chief operating officer so that I can go serve other founders. And then before that, I was an emerging technology consultant and leader within the emerging technology group in Accenture. And that back then I worked with the Fortune 50 as well as some Series D SaaS companies. So all over the place with experience, but my intention is to codify a lot of the things I've learned over the years and then share them with you. So what we're going to leave with today is 3 things. So I want to share with you some research that I've conducted on the most common blockers for founders at this seed to Series A stage. Where do they get stuck? I also want to share a new way to reallocate time to focus on priorities. So we're going to be working on clarifying your goals as well as clarifying how we're using our time within your business. And then last is the framework to prioritize everything else. So sometimes being a founder feels like having this infinite to-do list. It never ends. here comes the weekend on Saturday. You have so much going on, so much to do. You never have enough time to execute it all. So I want to get clarity on this, like, how can we manage that and go through that? Gone are the days of like a sense of completion where we could just like cross things off and close out our day, be like, because we're actually done. It's a constant, ongoing, and rolling process of creativity, innovation, and scale. So I conducted a study of 70 founders, and I asked what, and these are pre-seed and seed level founders, a little bit into the A, but mostly pre-seed and seed. What are the typical #1 priority goals at this stage of the company? And these are the types of things I heard. What really came out were, I need to define my problem space. I don't even know what sort of idea that I should be pursuing. The next one is like, hey, I do have an idea and now it's time to validate. So whatever experiments need to be done in order to find some traction is like, that's on their mind. Another is like to launch the product. How can we publicize and spread the use of our product and make sure that we're acquiring the right customers and making sure that we are able to retain them. And then lastly is to raise a round. And so I found that 70% of the founders in this group are concerned with one or more of these 4 things. Now, compared to, so it's very clear what the goals are, but what sometimes isn't as clear is what stops us, what prevents us from achieving our goals. So I asked the same question to the same set of founders. What are the typical reasons for you that prevent you or block you from achieving your #1 objective? Sometimes that objective is clear. So what is it that stops us? 26% right off the bat, no time. I don't have the time. There's not enough time in the day. I'm feeling like I'm wearing too many hats. We're moving too fast. For some, it's knowledge and experience. No idea what I'm doing. I'm doing everything for the first time. Might not have like the resources around me to be able to execute. The next one was talent. It's like, okay, I know I need some skill sets within my business, but I don't have them yet. So whether that is a head of product, whether that's a COO or even like on the financial side, CFO, then I know I need that skill set, but I haven't found them, haven't brought them into the business. And then the last 2 are focus. That's pretty self-explanatory, but also confidence. It's like when we sometimes, and a lot of things are going on within the business, it can feel like, okay, I actually might not know what I'm doing, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. And sometimes we get caught in our own head around having confidence with respect to our vision, where we're trying to take things as a whole. So the real secret here is all of this can really be solved and optimized through great prioritization and time management. Time is truly the only asset that we have as human beings and people. We have a finite amount of time. It doesn't matter who you are. There are 24 hours in your day. It doesn't matter how successful or big of a business that you have created or not. It's like we all are dealt the same cards. So really, how can we set priority around how do we issue those cards and make bets in order to get to our goals? So let's talk a little bit about allocating time towards our goals. I want to present to you a framework. And Aoife, if you'd like to send out the workbook now, the link that I sent, we can get started with this. So I invite the folks in this room, so Valerie, Nancy, Eunice, everyone in this room, let's pull out this workbook. I would love to get our hands dirty with respect to codifying our goals. And the framework that I am presenting to you is, has anyone, you can raise your hand or drop in the chat, has anyone heard of OKRs in this room? Got some nodding heads. And for those off video, feel free to use the chat. I'd love to just hear from you. Yes, yes, okay. Got some OKRs. Triple yes, no to 1 person, okay. No to 2, okay. So there are many goal setting methodologies out there. You may have heard of SMART goals or even using KPIs to drive all of your performance. OKRs is another one. And what I found is that I've taken the OKR framework and expanded it slightly to be able to bring up this 5-point framework, which I'm showing on the screen. So clarity on goals is really thinking first is like the objective, this thing at the top. What do you aim to accomplish? And we're gonna set objectives in a minute here. The second is why. Sometimes we don't ask why or like really dig deep. It's like, why is this important? Being clear on the why and the purpose actually might create insight to adjusting your objective If you continue to ask why over why we're setting a certain goal, then it might help you understand your bigger goals, your aspiration, your bigger vision. Next are the key results, which are quantitative measures that are used to validate the objective. So it lets you know that the objective was successfully achieved. We'll talk about this in a little bit. To the right here are the initiatives. What are the projects, the milestones, the tasks, the activities that you hypothesize are going to create the results? And then last are the blockers. What's going to prevent you from achieving this objective? And so my invitation to folks in the room is to pick a time interval for yourself. So we're going to set some goals right now, and I want to see them. I want to interact with you on this. Pick a time interval that you want to set a goal around. So for some, that might be a 12-month goal. For some others, it might be 6 months or 3 months or 1 month. Share with me a little bit about what you intend to do in that time interval. And I want you all to create what's your most important objective to accomplish in that period of time. And if folks want to pull out the workbook, what I invite you to do, and I believe, Aoife, is there edit access for people to use the workbook, or are you able to like create a slide or copy a slide in that?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, no, it worked perfectly fine for me, Chase. Yeah. So,
okay, great.
So everybody too. Yeah.
Okay, so go into the workbook. You're going to see 3 slides in that workbook, and I encourage everyone to copy the slide that looks like the framework that I showed in the previous one. You'll see 3 different slides there. We're going to use all 3 today. So for this one, we're designing our objectives. So make a copy. And if you feel more comfortable, you can copy the entire workbook into your own Google Slides folder. That's okay too. You can do that anyway. This stuff is for you. So let's write an objective. What is an objective? It's a broad qualitative goal that's really designed to propel you forward in a desired direction. So for some, that might be I want to race around. For others, I want to launch my product. For others, it might be I want to hire a co-founder. It could be anything. So, but what I want to know is what's your number one most important one? This is all about the vein of prioritization and importance. There's a lot of goals out there, but what do you really need to do? So here's how we write a goal in an objective. We want it to be big and bold and aspirational. We want it to also be attainable in the time limit. So all of us would love to raise a 7-figure round, but if you set a timeline to do that next week, that might be a little bit difficult. Although I have heard alternative stories to that, so it is possible. I do encourage people to be clear. There might be, when we're leading our teams and trying to get clarity with ourselves, you might want to make your objective like sound really cool. I've heard in the past is like, make it rain was one objective that I heard, which I think is great, but I encourage you to be clear about it. Like, what does it mean to make it rain? Like, what do you actually want to do? And being really clear and very specific about that. I want everyone to set goals that are valuable and beneficial to the enterprise, like what's going to really help your company grow. And also one that qualitative is like we're thinking about words, not numbers. So I want to check in. How are we doing on writing our objectives? Will people just share in the chat where people stand? Do you have them? Yep, got one. And if you'd like, you could just take your objective and just drop it in the chat. I'm happy to give you feedback on it right now. All right, got 2 people that have them. Cool, create a scalable online process to onboard new partners. Perfect. We're gonna want in the next step to get clear on what you mean by scalable and what you mean by a process. How will you know that you have one? As well as what is a partner. So just keep that in mind. Full caseload in private practice. Great. We're going to start defining what full means. We're going to start defining if we need to define private practice, maybe you have another practice that's public or in another industry, then we can define that too. And Valerie, we got to launch my business within the next 2 months. Ooh, love that. Excellent. We're going to start defining as like, what does it mean to launch? And then the business is like, how clear are you with respect to what that is? So these are great goals. Okay, let's jump to the next section. Oh, the timer is making me, there we go. Okay, So in this section, we're going to start talking about the key results. So these are great goals. Thank you for putting up these objectives. So let's talk a little bit about what key result is. A key result is a quantitative statement that measures the achievement of an objective. It's something that you can objectively point at to verify and validate that your objective has been achieved. So I encourage you to take the next 5 minutes to start writing anywhere from 3, sometimes it's 5 different ways to measure success. And I have lots of ideas. So maybe for you, we need a definition around scalable or partners. It's like scalable online process. How will we know that we got there? What can we look at that justifiably shows that we've achieved that objective? For Valerie, to launch your business, what does it mean to you to launch? Does that mean that it needs to be posted on social media? Does that mean you have a goal to acquire 100 customers? Is that what launch means to you? So share with me in the key results, what quantifiable ways are you defining your goal? And this part is really important because often when we are leading teams, the way that we use language can be really, it can be unfortunately unclear, because all of these words that we're using are subjective, and the way that you define it might be very different than the way someone else on your team defines it. And the ethos here that we're trying to create is one around clarity and alignment. So this process will help you codify what does it mean for each of these statements, such that we can all truly get on the same page. And here are some tips around what these statements, how to write a key result. We want to be quantitative. It's not your opinion. We don't want a world in which you look at something and say, we achieved it. How do you know you achieved it? There is a internal gut sensation that we sometimes get. We like to tell each other we know it when we see it. But what that does with our teams, it holds them back from really understanding your vision, really what you're trying to understand and like what you're trying to achieve. And by doing that, they'll constantly be coming up to you and being like, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? And that's fine, but that takes time. That takes a lot of energy. Were you to just articulate what you wanted through these key results, and then you might find that, now we have our North Star. We're on the same page and we can just build towards that. Be aspirational, stretch the limit. It's okay to set a goal and not achieve it, or to set a goal and to get only a fraction of the way there. In fact, OKR practice talks about, hey, the actual goal here is 60 to 70% completion, because we want to balance the right amount of stretching ourselves and the right amount of realism. So if we're achieving 100% of our goals all the time, then I think we're setting the bar too low for ourselves. But if we're struggling and we're only achieving 20, 30% of our goals, then maybe we're setting the bar too high against our capacity and we may need to take it down a notch. Be specific, avoid ambiguity. We want clarity in our language as we're communicating to others on our team. We want this to be progress-based as much as we can. So easy to point to something and demonstrate change. Try not to make it too complicated. And alignment for sure is like, we want buy-in from not just people around your team, but also within yourself. So set goals that are meaningful for you. That's really going to move the needle that you would really enjoy. All right, Valerie's coming in with one. Let's check this out. Complete my business plan. A soft launch event has been held. A target number of clients contracted based on a financial goal, TBD. Finances in place. So my feedback for you, Valerie, would be complete the business plan. How will we know that the business plan is completed? Is it going to be documented? Is it going to be reviewed by someone? Is it going to, or do we have to reduce it to like, you know it when you see it? Soft launch event has been held. Tell me more. It's like, does the soft launch event have a goal for a number of attendees that come to that event? And you can quantify that. Is it success for you if one person comes to that, or 100 people come to that, or 1,000? Define it. And then for C, a target number of clients contracted based on a financial goal to be determined. So yes, it sounds like you want to set a baseline. You don't have that goal for yourself yet, but you're in progress. Finances in place is really unclear to me. So what does that mean? Does that mean you need to set up your bank accounts? Does that mean that you need to hire an accountant, or you get some credit cards? Like, what does that mean to you? Cash in the bank? So I encourage you to continue, go down and define it. Meet partners equals travel designer process. Yes, you're defining. Okay. Travel designer. Okay. A process is create a profile and provide context in 3 steps. Why? To make it easy and fast for partners to get vested in the process. Okay. So this is all about your process, creating a profile and getting content in 3 steps. Okay. That seems clear to me. The next stage of this is like, what content is going to go? Valerie, great. Being written, reviewed by business coach. That's perfect. Amit, have an interview, email, first tour brochure, establish intent, email the phase 1 deliverable, tour title, image, meta story. Okay, great. So when the email is sent, you're saying that means that's what launch, or that's what creating the process means to you. Once it's emailed, it's done. Perfect. Okay. All right. So we're gonna jump forward. Does anyone need like a little bit more time? 1 minute maybe? Just ping if you need a little bit more time. 1 minute, please. Okay. Feel free to drop a question in the chat. Let's keep this rolling. Soft launch online being planned, details be finalized. Perfect. Let's get quantitative, Valerie, if we can. Details be finalized. I know you're still figuring it out. That's okay. But just hold space for that number to come to you. Okay, thanks. You are welcome. All right, we'll come up with a few more seconds here. Kyla, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Please correct me if I'm not. And feel free to drop in your key results. I'm happy to help. And Aoife, if you want to jump in, Kayla, thank you. Aoife, if you want to jump in about like Growth University's methodology around like quantifying things, if you want to share a few points that come to mind for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, that was really great, Chase. And I suppose like things like this, I suppose it's great because I suppose like in any startup, there's just always so many balls in the air, you know, and I suppose it's trying to have the process around it is absolutely brilliant. So like we actually recently moved to Asana, so simply because I suppose because we were a team of 6, we're very soon to be 7, and everyone has very kind of, I suppose, siloed roles in the business, even though there is obviously overlap. So I suppose it was one way for us to keep a track of who was doing what, and so they're kind of a bit more, everyone had eyes on what was actually happening, but plus also a way of making sure we actually end up getting things done. So now we cannot have sight of when everyone else's tasks are for the day. So at least now we know, like exactly as you were to your point there, Chase, of, you know, what will it look like when it's finished. We're now all agreed on, okay, what does actually done mean? You know what I mean? So like we have we've a views that, so we now know, okay, that's in the done pile, that's perfect, and what else is like, what else is coming up behind it, you know? So it's really all about, I suppose, having the process in place and actually just everyone buying into it, because at least that way then at least then we all know where everybody is at all the time, which is great.
Amazing. And yes, this is a concept that goes by many names. John Doerr called it OKRs. That's what they use at Google. Brene Brown says paint done for me. At the Agile methodology says definition of done. And so we're really getting out of our heads around is like, what do we want? What is the end stage? So
absolutely.
Thank you. All right, jumping forward. I gotta do a better job starting these timers. So the next stage here is to figure out the initiative. So when we first trying to clear up, what does done mean, right? And so that's the objective and the key result component. But maybe we're not clear yet of all the different activities that are going to get us there. And this is a hypothesis because sometimes we have an idea of what we want to achieve. We want to line up all of our tasks and projects and milestones in order to get it there, but it's also a guess. We're not sure. This is entrepreneurial world. It's like it's all about hypothesis and trying things out and running experiments and testing. So in the framework on the right side, you'll see insert here for each of the key results you might have created. Start listing out what are the tasks, the projects, these milestones, the linear step-by-step that you believe is going to create the numbers that you put in on the left. give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat if that makes sense. If any questions, just drop it into the chat. So we're gonna have a lot of time on this one just because, like, you know, trying to get our thinking around. Yep, perfect. And if you have a to-do list or something that you've just been kind of collecting information on, and that might be inspiration to start organizing it into this framework, start bringing it in. You'll start noticing that we're really going like big picture and like top down, really trying to line up step by step in order to get there. And as we're working on this, feel free to drop in the chat your either objective, your key result, your initiatives. Give me some feedback. I'm here to help you. Everyone must be busy writing. Ooh, here we go. Valerie, finish writing of the business plan using the template provided in the training. Perfect. Submit the draft plan for review by the coach. Yes. Revise and finalize the plan based on feedback from coach. Perfect. These are very, very clear milestones, step-by-step things that must be done in order to create the outcome that you're looking for, your hypothesis. So this one's great because your key result is, you know, get the checkbox from your coach on the completing the business plan. That is your definition of done. So my assumption is that a very high probability that the initiatives you selected are going to create the result that you want. Thank you, Valerie. Nice work. All right. Anyone else want to drop it in? Got about 5 minutes here at this stage. I'm going to jump over to the workbook and see how folks are doing. Oh, I don't have it up on my screen. Okay. I mean, key result, 25 partners. Perfect. You've defined the number of partners you want. That's great. So here's how you're going to do it. You're going to mail the pitch, schedule a Zoom call, highlight the cohort limit to create urgency, ask for an email to be sent to confirm slot and cohort, and done. Now for you, Amit, is that a process you're going to execute with all 25? Perfect. Okay. So your measure of success is like how many can you get into the onboarding phase, and you're able to actually count those. And now you have this process. And for you, you might even break this out because this is a funnel, this process, and you might have 100 people come in. You might email 100 and then be able to get 50 on a Zoom call, be able to get 30 to, you know, ask for an email, and et cetera, et cetera. So you don't have to define those now because you are clear on your goal. It's like your goal is not to get a 50% conversion rate from mail pitch in order to schedule a Zoom call. Your goal is to get 25 partners. So the strategy that you've laid down, this set of initiatives, is your best bet of being able to create that. Perfect. Awesome. Cool. 3 minutes, y'all. Where is everyone at? There's about half the room I haven't heard yet. Gegali, Eunice, AJM, Nancy, feel free to jump in wherever you're at. Kayla, okay, almost done. Cool, we'll give it another couple minutes. I think one important point I'm trying to drive here is, again, there's a difference. When we look at like our infinite to-do list, it can look like a bunch of like jumbled up stuff that's a little bit disorganized and deep and not as well prioritized. Or, you know, I've done this before, is like I have like an actual list of 50 things, and I'm kind of like at the beginning of the day looking and be like, oh, what do I actually like want to get done? These days, I already know every day what I want to get done because I'm clear about my intent. And when we're going to go to the next stage, we're going to see how do we actually put this into practice? How do we hold ourselves accountable and create focus towards a small and a limited sense of priorities, which are these goals that we're building right now. And it's going to tie back to time if you want a little hint. Okay, we got about 2 minutes left. How's everyone doing? Still working, or you want me to move on? Just let me know in the chat. Stay or go. Ready to go, Kayla. And if you want to post in here, Kayla, I'm happy to review yours. Eva's ready to go. You doing this too, Eva? You following along? Oh, yep. Heck yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Amit, you're ready?
Yeah.
So Kayla, you let me, if you want to drop it in, and I'll give you some quick feedback, we can keep going. Or if you're good without feedback, then whatever you want. Sure, one key result's great. All right, Kayla, we're down to 45 seconds. Let's see the key result. There we go. 30 sessions per week. Great way to quantify. Adding yourself to 2 more online directories. Start a TikTok, start Instagram. Got it. Okay, so you're going to use social media as a way to try and bring in more sessions per week. And your hypothesis is that is how you're going to drive the sessions per week. Awesome. Very good. Nice work. Okay, let's talk a little bit about managing our time, which again, it's the most important resource that we have, especially at the early stages. Like, how do we leverage our time, get the most out of our time? So I want to ask the group, when you look at these images, the left one and the right one, just drop in the chat, which one looks more like your calendar? Does it look like the left or does it look like the right? Kayla says right, Eva says left, Amit, other Eva says left. Okay, Nancy says left, perfect. Okay, I want to share like a little bit of difference between the 2 calendars. So 9 times out of 10, when I present this and I show people on the calendar on the right, the gut reaction, the visceral reaction is like, oh my gosh, it looks so busy, so busy. I can't even imagine like being just so like, oh my gosh, structured schedule like that. What I invite is an alternative frame of reference for this is if we think of our calendar as the single source of truth for how we are using our time, everyone's calendar looks like the one on the right. It's just a matter of visibility. On the left, we're able to like see which ones, it tends to be like these are meetings. So meetings are on the left, and then we have large pieces of blank space in between our meetings to do something. Is just thinking in terms of chunks in between meetings. On the right, what this represents is an intention of what to do in between those chunks. So I'm going to offer the next framework. We'll have, might not have 10 minutes to actually work on this, but a little bit is for everyone to just create your ideal work schedule. This is slide number 2 in the workbook that I had sent. The idea here is that when we as founders are able to clearly structure ourselves, then it actually invites a better performance. Not just are we going to show up as better leaders, but we will be more strategic, more clear, and have a lot more time on our hands when we create a container for how we use it. And so, for example, myself is, I gave an example here on this Monday. So for me, I'm very clear, and I have this actually on my calendar of I wake up around 7 a.m. East Coast time, and then the first 3 hours of my day are time for me, personal time. This is where I'm having breakfast, I'm meditating, I'm taking a shower, I'm reading, and the reading can be anything. It's on my Kindle, articles, reports that I want to read. It's like to give insight, put insight into my head. Then between like 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., I allocate that to deep work. And deep work can be anything. This is your individual contributor work. It could be your most important priority. It could also be thinking or planning or creating. If you're in the creation mode, it could be client service. It could be anything, but why deep work for me is there is because that's when I feel the highest amount of energy in the day. Everyone follows a circadian rhythm, which is actually genetically influenced just due to genealogy. You can actually take a test online to like help you gain awareness. And most people have awareness, like when are they most energetic? But if you need awareness help, I have a tool for you. It's called the Auto MEQ, and there's a survey online that help you find this. But I wanted to make my most creative strategic work happen during this time of day. And so I tend not to have meetings during that time. It's my focus time. And in that focus time, I create space. I turn off notifications, I turn off my cell phone, and all I want to do is just focus on the task at hand. Now, am I the best in terms of like, yeah, am I going to like bounce out on LinkedIn every once in a while, like get into my inbox? Yeah, of course. You need to take breaks. This is not about just creating like robotic like focus and just like, pushing yourself to your limit. This is about finding a time management schedule that works for you proactively as opposed to reactively. So I'll tell you more about mine is I also have space for lunch. I dedicate time for lunch. I tend to not eat at my desk and work at the same time just because I feel more clear by stepping away from my business, allowing myself to like think and ideate more and then coming back into it. And then most of my meetings I run between like 2 and 6 p.m. And this is where I'm having one-on-ones with my team. I might be having team sync ups. I might be having certain client calls in my work. I might be having any sort of meeting with another person. Could even just be networking. I tend to put that in the afternoon, and then a little bit of personal time, and then also like getting into an intention around my relationships. I have a significant other, I have a son, and I want to make sure I'm proactively spending time with them. Putting it on my calendar, syncing up my mind so that I am prepared to enter into a space in which I can like really connect and interact with them. In my previous business, I ran in a world in which I didn't do these things. And what ended up happening, I was working 60, 80 hours a week without actually making traction on my business. I was not connecting well with my significant other at the time. I wasn't exercising very well, and I wasn't eating very well. And those things actually compounded because my body and my mind were not in a place of preparedness for the company. What ended up happening is I was just spinning my tires in the business for a very long time without a lot of these structures, because energy and business, there like ends up being the same. There is no work-life balance for entrepreneurial people. Like it's all one integrated life that we're living. And so, and then I also have an intention to go to sleep at a certain time. So I invite everyone to fill this out for yourselves. I put some blocks to play with in the workbook. And I'm just curious about questions or feedback, reactions at this stage.
I think it's very interesting, Chase, when you said to not eat at the desk.
So you can.
Ethan Murphy is currently having her lunch here, and yeah. I know because it's only when you say it that obviously, like I'd always have my breakfast at the desk. I always do. Like it everywhere, and like. Well, yeah, I suppose I like then when you do actually walk away from it, you obviously feel better, like so it's always out of habit, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We all hear the adage of like this is a marathon and not a sprint, and I truly believe that the core of personal effectiveness comes with honoring our time when we're not working. So I invite founders all the time to take your weekends off, to take real vacation, actually unplug. I have found my best, most clearest strategic thinking has happened when I've walked away and I'm not thinking about the day-to-day notifications and emails coming in and just like this, getting all these reactions to things. It's like, that's a reactive mode. If we want to be proactive and clear, then literally stepping away from the challenge to gain perspective on it has really, really worked for me. And thanks for the feedback too. Mindful of priorities beyond work for yourself and family and friends. Yes, because like this is about creating intention around every aspect of our life, so that no one wants to have a world. Well, maybe some people do. I do not want a world for myself where I'm so successful in business. I got like the acquisition I was looking for, got the scale I was looking for, and then when I turn back on the rest of my life, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. this is what we talk about, is like, I've talked with many founders about when they get to exit, there's like a deep sadness. It's like their identity is like wrapped up in what we're doing. It's like, who am I without this business? Well, there's more to life. There can be. And again, these are choices. There's no judgment in what we're talking about today. And what you do, I encourage you to do for you. These systems are for you. These are tools to create your own. Perfect. Don't work in my bed either. It's healthier for me, 100%. And if you do work in your bed, great. If that works for you, great. If you wake up at 4 a.m. and like do your exercise, and like, if that's you, great. The challenge here is like really knowing yourself, is like, what is going to unlock the best version of yourself so you can bring that into the business. Okay, so we're gonna jump ahead and move on. I'm not paying attention to these countdown timers, am I? Okay, the last section for today is about reorganizing your to-do list. So yeah, Chase, you know, we have like all these goals and, you know, we got the priority and the initiative done, but hey, that's not like the only thing I do. Yeah, right. There's 100 other things that are going on operationally, especially in the business, that have to be managed as well. We can't just focus on our number one priority all the time. It'd be great if we could, but there's so much other stuff to do. So I encourage everyone, if you have not created this for yourself already, to just take 5 minutes right now and just brain dump all of your to-dos. If you've never made a to-do list before, now is the time. So everything that's on your priority list, everything like in your head that you think that you need to execute on, brain dump it. Just open up a notepad, write it down in a notebook, all the tasks, the priorities, everything that's different than just directly impacting your goals. So here's some inspiration on the right, depending on what your role is or who's on your team. There might be random phone calls that you could be receiving. There might be pings that you're getting from the team, like in Slack or Microsoft Teams. You might need to, everyone has to check their email and answer emails. That takes time, sometimes hours per day. You might get a bunch of calls and you can't get back to them right away. So you have to return them. You have to create time to like execute on that. For some, it's like sending invoices. A lot of CEOs are still at this stage are still responsible mostly for finances. So sending out the invoices, making sure all the payments are done. You're setting up new software. So IFA for you, like Asana, someone had to set that up. Someone had to decide what's the structure we're going to use internally. And that's very different than achieving Growth University's goals, right? There's finances, there's accounting, HR and payroll. We need to onboard people. We got to issue the I-9s and W-2s and 1099s. We might need to like document a process, which we're about to like train or delegate to another person, or we want to streamline. There might be team meetings that we're doing. Is like we want clarity and synchrony with our team, and it takes time. There's hiring and interviewing, or even a certification or a training that you're going through that you want to be certified in a certain way, or learn a new skill so you can go sell that skill or infuse it in your business. Posting on social media also takes a tremendous amount of time. Reading reports, buying gifts, and even just catching up over coffee. All this are common things that happen for us as entrepreneurs that are not necessarily directly tied to our highest priority, but it's not like we don't want to do them. We either have to do them, or we want to do them, or it's like, wow, if I achieve my goals, I'll have the capital to be able to hire someone to do this. So it tends to be like one of those things. So give it another 2 minutes, 45 to just write out, just brain dump it. No organization, just getting it out of your head, free flow. No need to edit anything, just like get it out of your head. And ping me in the chat. Let me know how it's going. Okay, no one has to ping me. That's also okay. That's cool too. Okay, cool. Thank you. Calls with teams, yes. Identifying partners, Zoom calls with new travel designers, social media posts, spend time with family, personal time. Love this. So, maybe for you, if you create that structure for yourself, then, there's a concept called mental switching costs, which is when we're task switching all the time, it actually takes away from focus energy. There's a study done with judges, I believe in Israel, that showed that there's some fatigue when we make also a lot of decisions in a day. And that energy like helps us make better decisions. So for you, perhaps If your number one priority is onboarding the new travel designers, then maybe that's your deep work. Maybe that's like the focus that you want to be able to do, and you have a calendar link and you're offering time to these partners to book time with you during that time. It's your most important priority. And then for your team meetings, you can schedule those out in advance on like a weekly or bi-weekly cadence at an agreed upon date and time every single week. And in that container, you can run the same agenda. And that agenda is accumulating different updates all the way through, hey, we have our updates in, we need to actually make decisions about where the team goes. You can run a little agile functionality that way. Kayla, email, sending and receiving, text messages, perfect, phone calls, delegate when I can do busy work in my day, training, awesome. So you're doing all these things. So we will talk about prioritizing this list, and it's about taking these and putting them into those sections on your calendar that might make the most sense for you. So again, when I look at this, I like to do these sorts of things when I have a little bit lower energy in the day. And the reason for that is because a lot of these things are either not as important as achieving the goal that I'm trying to get to, or I've kind of already mastered the skill. And let's be honest, everyone's a smart person in here, and everyone has mastered some of these skills already. And so if you're already at your best, then you want to spend your creative energy in like doing the hard thing. We talk about like, okay, what's the hard thing that we need to be doing? Put that when you're at your clearest, because it's hard. And you have to spend time figuring out, a lot of time figuring it out. That's part of the role of being a founder. So cool. I'm glad that Calendly has worked for y'all. It works for me too. So let's start prioritizing this list of these tasks. This is the third part of the workbook. This is called the Eisenhower matrix. Have anyone heard of this before? Some yes. I saw you one IFA says yes, another IFA says no. No, yes, okay, a little bit mixed. So if you open up the workbook, there's a little bit more context here, but you can take all of your tasks, these like extra things you have to do, and throw them into this matrix. And we talk about importance versus urgency. Urgency means that it's due now. It's like, it's coming up. There's a time limit. We have to get it done. And it's maybe even on fire, whether that's a deliverable that you need to send to a client, or that's you need to make a decision on making a hire, else that hire is going to disappear and get another job. It's like there's a sense of urgency. The challenge here is separating what's truly urgent, because a lot of things are not truly urgent because they're this time-bound effect. What's important are things that are really going to move the needle. Now, that might not necessarily be time-bound, but they tend to be things evolved around growing the business or driving a system in order to scale. Sometimes it's around hiring someone because that creates leverage. But this matrix, these two axes can truly be anything. I like to use urgency and priority just to make sense of things. So we're not going to spend all 5 minutes here, but I want to. Oh, it's called the Eisenhower matrix, Valerie. And it's in the workbook. It's the tagline is in the workbook. So I invite you to take the brain dump that you've done and start putting them in each of these categories, because each category has a slightly different strategy on how you might choose to approach it. So as an example, high importance and high urgency, these are critical fires. These are things that's like, we absolutely have to do. It's really important. We have to get it done. I find that founders tend to overinflate that bucket because they think everything is urgent when it's truly not. What's high importance and low urgency is things that are your long-term bets. You know that you need to be doing them, but you don't have to do them today, sort of thing. A lot of founder focus needs to be going into this area. And that could be anything personally from reading. Reading might be up there. It's like learning new skills. If you're putting down 5, 10, 50 books a year, then you're compounding your skills, whether you intend to or not. But you also might find different things. There's like setting up a system or a process so that you could train someone else, give yourself that leverage. Low importance and high urgency are things that are demanding today that's not necessarily important to do. And you can choose to do we really need to get this done now, or can we try and make it wait? You can delegate to yourself in the future, or you can delegate to someone else to drive home since it's not as important. And the last one, low importance, low urgency, is everything else, which tends to be activities that don't move the needle. A lot of productivity gurus like talk about putting social media and like other stuff is like scrolling, kind of like ends up in that bucket. My view on that is like, hey, everyone's got to take a break. Everyone's got to like, we can't be just plugged into the matrix the entire day, all day for, you know, years and years until we exit. Take a break. It might not be easy to do so, but allow yourself to take breaks and enjoy something else, even if it is defined as low urgency, low importance. So the last piece here is just get your biggest takeaways. But first, I just wanted to offer that this is, I hope you enjoyed the session. This is my work. And man, I was trying to drop these links. So I know you can't click on this right now. Ah, here we go. I'm getting that together now. But if you want to check out some of the work that I do, you want to join my world, then feel free, hit me up on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Twitter. I run a newsletter as well about the growing pains of leadership for founders and managers. So these skills and like trying to add structure and clarity and alignment and even empowerment into our teams is everything that I talk about in my newsletter. And I'm also running a 3-week team goal and delegation course called Amplify Your Time, run through the Maven platform. And this course is really all about, if you have a team and you're ready to sync up and get that alignment, delegate more to them, be clear on goals, and leverage your time, then this course might be for you.